Just because I can doesn't mean I have to. Those people that you keep around you that celebrate you and support you and don't judge you,
Yeah.
I call those people my soul squad.
Welcome to It's the Human Experience Podcast. Hosted by Hazel Brown, a healthcare leader, wife, mom, and career coach. If you're big on authenticity, personal development, perseverance, and transparency, you're in the right place. Get ready to be uplifted, inspired, and empowered as you become fearless in pursuit of the life you desire and deserve. Go ahead and subscribe. You don't want to miss out on these transparent stories and discussions that reveal highs, lows, aha moments, and nuggets that'll help you to grow and glow.
You are now tuned in to the It's the Human Experience podcast. I'm your host, Hazel Brown. Today we have Megan on the podcast. We are going to be talking discovering yourself, going after your goals, betting on yourself unapologetically. And I'm just going to go ahead and introduce Megan so we could dive right on in. Hi, Megan.
Hi.
Thanks so much for being here.
I appreciate being here. Thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I don't do any fluff. So we're going to go ahead and jump right into the episode. And we're going to start with, who are you, Megan?
Megan is in a stage of her life where we're in a refresh. It took a minute to get there, but that's who Megan is right now.
In full reset mode. What brought you there?
All the things, Hazel, I think all of us collectively, we needed to hit pause. Once 2025 started, end of 2024, there were so many shifts on a global perspective. But what happens underneath that, it all trickles down to us. So it was a combination of everything. Life changes, unexpected events, reconnections, disconnections. And then I just kind of attuned and used my spiritual practices and my community and said, okay, we're going to do a reset. I write. That is the biggest thing. I tell clients, I tell students, I tell friends, one of the biggest kind of mental wellness pro tips that I engage in and share with students or counselors is writing your right.
Yeah.
It's a phrase that has stuck with me at least since 2020. One of my girlfriends that said that to me, and it stuck with me because I think whether you're in a reset or you're thinking about the reset and what do I want to do to shift in this new season of myself, I think you got to get whatever's in your head out.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's writing words, coloring or painting. I'm also a theater kid at heart, so really anything artsy is my kind of practice to get it out. I have really integrated that creativity in reconnecting to what I know is important to myself, what kind of therapist I am, what kind of teacher I am. And that's important to me, creativity, not just for healing, but also you never really know what's floating around up there. What idea could come up? You know, what do you keep coming back to?
I love that. Like that level of embracing your inner child and making it work for Megan today.
Yes.
As opposed to kind of sometimes we
Push
compartmentalize
you to the
things.
back.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's so important
absolutely.
we recognize in order for us to be happy and find fulfillment, we have to make sure that we are in tune with who we are. And sometimes that does require writing. I'm definitely a journaling kind of girl.
The stack of journals that I have collected over the years, and even when my girls and I have moved residences, repacking the journals.
Yeah.
I mean, there's journals in there probably since the early 90s, you know, high school days we're looking at. And there was a Megan there. And then life happens.
Yeah.
And so when you decide to take that shift, that pause, and you say, I need something, it really is a shift to reset. Once you have that moment, you can find that person. What brought you joy? What made you thrive? What kind of sparked your ideas? That's where we can settle and decide what's going to be best for us without all the noise.
I love that. It really leads me into you sharing a moment when you felt stuck. And what did you do to unstuck yourself?
There's been two really pivotal moments that really took me to say, yeah, this isn't working anymore and I need that shift. The first one was like many of us, pandemic time. More recently, it was as a solo parent. We have this drive sometimes to say, I can do it all. I can do it all. And there comes a point where you say, and I did, I can do it all. I've proved it to myself.
Yeah.
However, what is this costing me
Mm.
to do it all? It took a moment to take that shift and say, this isn't working anymore. If I could lean into the help being offered and put that, whether it's ego, whether that's parenting, if I can put that to the side, that's what's gonna reconnect me to what's important. Even though we can do it,
Yeah.
it's not sustainable
Right.
sometimes doing it yourself and, your health, your mental health, all of those things. So I had to take a moment and
Yeah.
say, you're offering help. I'm going to take it this
Yeah.
time.
I think that's so important because
Yeah.
many of us were taught to be strong, we're taught to be independent,
Yeah.
and it really takes a level of allowing yourself to accept help when you realize that, one, I don't have to do it all just because I know how to do it all. Two, there are people that have more skills in areas that we may be average in, they may be experts in. Why not compartmentalize the parts of us that feel like, oh my God, I have to do it, instead of compartmentalizing other things, right?
Yes, exactly. It's even bringing a sigh of relief and
Yeah.
just leaning into that, surrounding ourselves with others. It takes a lot to be very intentional to honor your mentors.
Mhm.
And when you've had mentors around you that show you, hey, it's okay. I asked for help or I leaned into help and I'm still moving forward. I'm
Yeah.
still being successful. So we got to keep those kind of people close too.
I love that you spoke on that in terms of having the people around you that make you feel safe while you're asking for help, while you're
Yes.
sharing your truth. I always say that people who have embarked on a personal development journey, a healing journey, they're never going to judge you.
No.
People that are really emotionally intelligent and are working on becoming the best versions of themselves, they won't judge you because they understand the road you traveled. It's people that are comfortable and are living their everyday life according to however society told them to live it, that will look at you and say, you're doing this? Like we were told. And I think it's important to recognize that as you're healing, you got to ask for help. You have to make sure that you prioritize your mental health because it makes no sense for us to try to do everything ourselves when there are people that want to support us. I think for me, an aha moment was recognizing that I love pouring into others. And so when people would try to help me, it'd be like, why? And be like, but why do you like helping people? Like, why is it okay when you do it?
Exactly. And that's my crew. That's my professional crew, helping professionals and
Yeah.
counselors. We are the worst about it as much as we won't admit it, but we really are the worst. It's that moment of saying, just because I can doesn't mean I have to. Those people that you keep around you that celebrate you and support you and don't judge you,
Yeah.
I call those people my soul squad. And part of that is because of how I personally have chosen to define family and cousins and
Yeah.
extended cousins and aunties. That to me, that soul squad, those are your people.
Yeah.
The ones that you can say, I know I could tell you the wildest thing you've ever heard, and you're going to love me no
Yeah.
matter what.
I like to say people who make my nervous system feel safe. Like those are my people. It feels so good.
Yeah.
Keep you around. And then people that make me feel like I have to have my guard up or make me feel like I gotta spray Windex and bleach too much to try to figure things out. It's like, yeah, I like reading between the lines. This
Yeah.
is too much for me.
Yeah.
And so I love that your soul
That's your
squad.
intuition.
Yeah.
We call it a therapeutic gut in our biz. That is the piece you got to a place in your own awareness and your own insight to say, something don't feel right.
Yeah.
It's those little instincts that it takes a minute. It's not easy to take that moment for yourself and say, why this doesn't sit right.
Yeah.
Why is my stomach all of a sudden tight?
Mhm.
Taking that moment. But those are the things that we learn from each other. How do
You navigate that because it's hard when you're
Yeah.
naturally face centered and heart centered and
Yeah.
you love pouring.
Yeah.
It feels bad when you have to put that boundary in place
Yep.
because your therapeutic intuition is like, yeah, no, we're not
Yeah.
doing this.
Yes.
It's like, but why do we have to be mean? He's not being mean. This does
Yeah.
not feel right. Trust me. How do people navigate that?
Number one, it's the insight, it's the awareness. As an educator, I'm very grateful and honored to be able to teach future counselors.
Yeah.
And one of the things that we're tasked with as educators is to teach that fostering of empathy and how it grows over time the more that you lean into it. So people like you who love to pour into others, just have that natural spirit. Empathy becomes an exercise and you learn to kind of give and take and balance. But it goes back to that same thing. You got to have the community to help you with that. But I've been practicing for like 15 years. So it's certainly not something as a new clinician I knew. And when I think about mental health and how we tie that in as educators, and in my day, when I was trained, self-care was taught this much during the program. And obviously, we've learned so much over 15 years.
Right.
So self-care is more than. I'm of the belief, my colleague and I were of the belief self-care is really soul care
Mm-hmm.
because it's that deeper, deeper level. And if it's not explored, you're not going to be that person that enjoys to pour anymore.
Yeah.
You're going to be that person that's resentful.
Yeah, absolutely. And that makes so much sense in terms of like really recognizing where things come from and what sits right to you. And when it's okay to say, yeah, this doesn't work right now. And
Yes.
this situation or this person or whatever the thing is, like being able to trust and just allow.
Yeah.
Yeah. What would you say is your superpower?
Well, I mean, I'm a mom. So, number one, I'm a mom. I really, truly believe, especially at this point in my life, given what I've survived, what I've gone through, what my kids have gone through, where I am, that makes me this Megan
Mm.
right now today. My superpower is my spiritual connection.
Mm.
What is my beliefs? What are my values? What do I stand on? Embracing your spiritual practices, figuring out what that looks like for you, that superpower of strengthening that connection, you'll find what's next. Your answers will come to you. It becomes less of a chase and more of, I know this is where I'm going to go. This
Yeah.
feels right.
Yeah.
Surrounding your people at a workplace who inspire you, motivate you, want you to succeed.
Mhm.
That's a very different environment than task oriented and get this job done. That's my personal superpower of spirituality and how that connects us to each other. And more importantly, how do you teach others to find their own connection, whatever that looks like? But that's what's going to be your core and develop you, I think.
Yeah, I love that. Recently, I was going to an event and someone asked me, oh, what time are you going to get to the event? And my response back to them was, I'm actually not going to the event to network. I'm actually not going to the event for brunch. I'm only going to the event so that I can support the people that are a part of the event and show up for the event. I'm very, very big on attracting who God wants me to be attracted for and to help who they need to. And so I don't try to intercede in things anymore.
Yeah.
I go with the intention of knowing that I am there to receive, I'm there to rapport, and I'm there to make sure that whatever he wants me to do, I'm present for it. And so it's funny when I answer things like that, I'm like, I'm a Leo. So I'm like, is that very egotistical that, yeah, I'm not going to go do that. God will bring the people to me.
You get to a place when you were saying that icky feeling. I think the natural inclination is to say, I don't want to feel that. I'm going to compartmentalize
Yeah.
that. And what we encourage, and especially mental wellness and how you continue to grow and evolve, we take that opportunity to say, ooh, that feels icky. Let me stay with it. Let me explore why this feels icky. And once you kind of feel those feelings and you get your way through it, there's more of a relaxation. There's that nervous system safety. Like
Yeah.
you were saying, there's that moment of embracing it.
It's that clarity. Yeah, because for me, to your point, after the event, every person that I knew I needed to support felt supported. Every person that I knew I needed to meet, I met. And when I was done, I knew I was done and it was time to go. And so I just thought to myself, wow, like you really have to trust what works for you
Yeah.
because you are being guided. That soul intuition is there.
We get quiet enough in our heads, in our minds, in our spirits. It is there for sure. One of the things you're making me think about your attendance at the event in this reset kind of stage I'm in, there was an opportunity for me to kind of talk with the students.
Mhm.
Here's what's next for you as a therapist. How can you continue to take care of yourself? In that conversation, I said, no matter what, the people you're supposed to connect with, you will,
Right.
forced or not. So you knew at that event, these are the people that are surrounding me.
Mhm.
I'm going to support, they're going to support. But even getting to that place
Mhm.
is that initial piece of hesitation.
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
think it's the growth in recognizing you don't have to be everything
You
and you don't
don't.
have to do everything. It's like you can, but what is that going to leave you with? It's going to leave you
Exactly.
drained because
Mhm.
I'm still a mom, I'm still a wife, I still have family.
Yeah.
And so I can't pour everything and then leave myself and my family with nothing. So when you get to that space, you recognize, like, wow, every time I do this, I come back empty and they don't deserve for me to come back empty.
Yeah.
So you do what you need to do to where your cup is not empty, but you've poured to where their cup overflows, but you come back with something.
Yeah.
So you
There's
can
something
reset.
that analogy of pouring into others and don't pour from an empty cup. When I was first hearing it a couple years ago, I remember doing a little graphic of I'm not a cup to pour from. I'm a vintage wine glass to pour
Listen.
from. If we do pour from others, what kind of cup does that make us? How are you doing that? You're never overflowing, you're never out. How do you balance
Yeah.
that? Putting your energy to where it truly matters.
And that self-awareness, trusting that internal intuition, your experience, life experience teaches you every time I do this, or I do too much of this, or
Yep.
too little of that, I end up feeling this way. And
Yep.
we have to course correct and learn from our past experiences in order for us to get to a place to where we are fulfilled. What was a turning point in your life when you realized that the only thing holding you back was your actions and your mindset?
That was one of my favorite questions. What was a turning point? And the only thing holding me back was my mindset. I think the biggest turning point that comes to mind is as a person who's survived domestic violence, I'm someone who carries PTSD with me every single time. I think for me, that turning point was saying, it's okay. You're a counselor who has a counselor who works with counselors. That's okay to also be somebody that has ups and downs and
Yeah.
struggles. But the turning point for me was to say, if I can do this, I know whoever I'm going to be involved with professionally, personally, I know they can do it.
Yeah.
There comes a huge feeling of safety of just sitting in yourself, your
Mhm.
authentic self.
Yeah.
This is me. Either I'm Megan or I'm Dr. Boyd or
Yeah.
I'm mommy,
Yeah.
but this is me.
Yeah.
And if I'm okay with that, then moving forward, I know that I can have an impact. That's a huge turning point. The mindset is like, why should you do that? You don't deserve to get well or whatever it is,
Yeah.
that you have those thoughts ruminating in your brain. But that was huge for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that accepting of self and just
Yeah.
embracing who you are. Then you don't really have to have all these limiting beliefs
Yeah.
because you know that you're showing up as you every single day. I'm so big on that. And I think it's beyond the Leo in me. It's very much like, I'm who I am.
That
Either you like it or you don't. Take it or leave it. I'm not concerned. And you have to know your truth and live your truth. I think a big turning point for me is when my mom passed. She was so thankful that she felt like she fulfilled her purpose. Just created a sense of feeling like, man, we have to love the life we live. Because when it's our time, we look back and we don't want regrets from the perspective of,
Yeah.
man, I should have took that risk. Man, I shouldn't have pretended to be somebody else.
Yeah.
Man, I should, all these shoulda, woulda, couldas.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be the thing. Like, we deserve to live as ourselves
Mhm.
and we deserve to live now. So I love that you shared that, like, just knowing you are being you and allowing that shame and everything else to kind of go to the side
Yeah.
because this is me and this is how I'm going to show up.
And I'm worthy of wellness.
Yes.
You're worthy of
Yes.
wellness.
Yes.
Y'all are worthy of
Absolutely.
wellness.
Absolutely.
It's taking that moment to say, you know what? I do deserve to be safe. I do deserve to be cared about, loved, connected to. experience genuine friendships.
Yeah.
I'm worthy of that.
Yeah.
But it's always the but
Mhm.
underneath that. We make it sound so easy.
Yeah.
And it takes a moment where you yourself have to be safe in exploring that of
Mhm.
what it's going to come, emotionally safe, physically safe. But it also takes a lot of courage to
Yeah.
do that too.
Since we just talked about that, how do you continue to protect that level of peace and safety that you've built for yourself? Because you're a therapist, you talked
Yeah.
about being Dr. Boy,
Yeah.
and you have people now that because other people affirm and believe in you, they may not have previously or naturally, but now they're gravitating towards you. How do you discern when to create those boundaries in your life to make sure that you can continue to be authentic to you? And the reason I ask the question is
Yeah.
because people, they do have to navigate that level of why is this person interested in being in my life? And then separately, does this person cause me to change who I am because of the way they show up? So, how do people navigate those lanes as it relates to owning their authenticity?
Yeah. So it makes me think about how boundaries have almost become a buzzword,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
There's boundaries on social media and then there's clinical boundaries.
Yeah.
Like when we're talking about this is what this truly means. For me, it's going back to that phrase of where am I spending my energy?
Mm.
Because whatever that energy is, creative,
Yeah.
podcasting, if it's not uplifting and you're coming away from it as, oh, did I do that right? Or was this the best decision? Or what this is, that boundary is protecting your peace.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
know that's a saying we use a lot, but why am I putting this into place? When I look through my phone contact list, this is one of my favorite self-care
Mhm.
practices. Once a year or twice a year, I go through my contact list and I update profile pictures
Mm.
to keep them fresh. Like,
Mhm.
who are my people? Who's on
Yeah.
that soul squad? But there's also those moments where you flip through your contact list and say, wow, we haven't connected in X amount of time, purposeful or not.
Right.
That's a moment of reflection for you to say, how do I want to continue this relationship, this friendship, this
Yeah.
connection? Sometimes it's, I'm just going to leave it alone.
Yeah.
It is what it was. And we have a resolution and moving forward. But other times it's, holy cow, I really miss you. And we've had a we've had a break, we've had a rupture, whatever it is. So is that energy worth it for me to pouring back in? Hey, I want this relationship to work. So holding firm to your boundaries. We all know how to create boundaries. Block this person or don't go to this event. But what we don't do is hold them firm and
Yeah.
hold them accountable. Because then you get through the loophole of
Yeah.
replaying the situation. What's going to be best for you moving forward?
That sounds like a downward spiral
Yes.
instead of an upward
Yes.
spiral.
Instead of upward. Yes, I would agree with you on that.
Yeah, awesome. I love that. I love that so
Yeah.
much. To your point, know why those boundaries were put in place in the first
Yes.
place.
Yes. Here's a common scenario. One of my best friends is going through a separation. And one of the things we constantly talk about is the boundaries of communication.
Mm.
What's the reason that you're not responding to them as frequently? For
Mhm.
example,
Yeah.
that's a small boundary, but remember why you're doing that. You're not contacting them because there's an expectation that it's going to be quick all
Mhm.
the time. Let that go. And your boundary is, I'm going to respond when I want to.
Yeah.
But it takes practice.
Yeah. Because we
It
gotta
takes
protect that nervous
I
system.
mean, you really gotta it takes some practice to
Yeah.
do that.
I love that. How do you measure growth in your own life, especially when it feels like nothing is progressing?
My girls, my kids. How do I measure growth? Do you have full bellies? Do you have somewhere to sleep at night? Are you happy and lovey-dovey and you've got what you need to succeed? That's growth.
Yeah, I love it.
I think as a parent, there are so many opportunities to say, I screwed up. I shouldn't have done that. This is going to bother them in a year. I did something wrong. But when you shift to that place of, I'm grateful for everything and I'm grateful for this moment, I could have had a horrendous day and made lots of mistakes. But when I pick up those girls from carpool and they start telling me about science projects and math awards and what gets them excited, that's growth for me as a woman, as a mom, as somebody raising tiny humans, socially, that's growth for me
Yeah.
because I know that I'm doing what's going to be good for my children.
I love that level of self-awareness in terms of what brings you joy and
Yeah.
happiness
Yeah.
and what you take pride in. I think so many times with society, you think that it's going after the degree, the job, the title, the relationship, the house, the communities, whatever it is people go after these days, right?
Yeah.
And you don't recognize like those things don't bring you joy. Your
Yeah.
soul squad brings you joy.
Yes.
The people that light you up and the people that make your nervous system feel safe, that's what truly matters. So I love your reference to going through your phone and updating those people, right?
Yes.
As
Yes.
well as reflecting on growth as it relates to making sure that the people that you want to grow with you are still a part of your life. I'll double
Beautifully said.
down on growth because
Yeah.
I'm sure when you look at like the way you handle situations current day to comparing to how you handle situations 10 years ago. We don't talk about those things when it
Yeah.
comes to growth. We heavily talk about financial growth, career growth, and the things we acquire. But our mindset growth, like how does that make you feel when you look at your journey? And
Yeah.
like even with your kids, right? Maybe like 5 years ago, you might have
Yeah.
been like, girl, go put that down. And this time you're like, I'm over
Yes.
here and let's talk about what's going on. How do you reflect on your
Yeah.
growth journey from a mindset perspective?
When you've lost everything, there's only gain when you've gotten to a place where your world has completely shifted, like your mother's death. When you have that moment where you feel like you've lost everything, I look at 10 years ago, 2015, that was when I graduated with my doctorate. I was that person chasing the degrees, chasing this, had the marriage. I did all the right things, right? But there comes a point, life happens.
Yeah.
And I can confidently look back and say, I'm grateful I did that, but there was so much more. There was so much more. So in this reset time, I can take all those experiences. I can heal like I have done all the wellness things, but then I can take that moment to say, wow, look at how all that panned out.
Yeah.
And it does go back to what's most important to me every single day. That's my girls,
Yeah.
making sure I'm doing best by them.
I love that level of in 2015, me getting my degrees was growth because I was trusting the process, believing in myself, and I was a finisher.
Yes.
And then growth today looks like recognizing that those degrees was necessary,
Yeah.
but they were not the prize.
They were not
So
the
your
prize.
perspective have completely shift in terms of what the prize is, but recognizing those things help you live a more fulfilling life, to do the things that you love. We have parallels. I graduated with my double master's in 2015 also. Current day Hazel's like, yes, those degrees were necessary, but they don't define me.
They do
That's not
not.
where my worth lives.
I totally agree with you. When I talk about the state of my degrees,
Yeah.
I said, well, one of them was never unrolled. One of them's in a frame sitting in the basement. This one's over here in this thing. It's not that I dismiss what I did. Those degrees take blood, sweat, and tears.
Yeah.
You know what you did to get there. You're proud of it. But in the moment, you don't think about a decade from now.
Yeah.
From when you did all of that work, what do you strive for next? Think about this same process a decade from now.
Yeah.
What is that going to look like? I do think it has a little bit to do with being in academia for a long time myself, teacher and student. If I had a clock to turn back and I knew what I knew then, going into my 40s, looking back then, I don't know if I would have made the same choices.
I am very much an advocate for school. I'm very much an advocate of understanding that the muscle is believing in yourself and doing things when you don't feel like doing them. And so what struck me is that if we did this in terms of training people younger to believe in themselves,
Yeah.
to trust the process,
Yeah.
to trust that internal intuition and soul intuition, if you will, like how much faster can people start to accomplish their goals without needing the degree first? Because the reality is it was making sure that you're focused on finishing what you started, believing in yourself,
Yeah.
learning how to get better at things that you're not good at. But school is not necessary to teach that. But it's a
Exactly,
good way to
yes.
teach that
Yes.
because we don't have programs set up out in the real world that teaches you that. And if you just let life teach you that, Lord,
Lord, who knows where you're going to go?
Right.
Here's the thing about trusting the process. Again, that's another one of those phrases. Forever and a
Yeah.
day, we're like, trust the process.
Yes.
In this most recent time of pausing and reflecting and resetting, I always forget that to trust the process, we also have to like pause and allow the process to work.
Right.
I think we forget that second stage. I can trust the process. I know what's going to happen. I know all of these things. But then you got to be patient sometimes.
Yeah.
We forget to revisit what patience looks like.
Yeah.
How do we teach patience? Like, just because we trust the process, it doesn't mean that outcome is going to be right then and there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's recognizing that even when we talk about being a mother, it takes 9 months to develop a child, right? It takes time for them to crawl, to walk, to get to a point when they can be able to be out of your sight
Yeah.
without you needing to be there to make sure they're okay. We talk a lot about it on the podcast where people want their goals and their life to look like the vision right away, just
Yes,
immediately, like
yes.
instantaneously. I
Yeah.
thought about this idea and I want it to just come to life. Like,
Exactly.
what would that look like? Like, yes, do it messy. Yes, take risks, but understand that things truly take time. I think on one episode way early in the podcast, I talk about my stepfather and how he would be in the kitchen all the time and it would take him all day to cook a pot. Where my mother would throw things on a pressure cooker and it'd be done quickly. I recognize that when he would cook certain things, I'm like, "Ooh, this is good." And it helped me to recognize that things taste better when they marinate. Like allow things to marinate.
Yeah.
We everything does not need to go in a pressure cooker. While at the same time, if you are pressed on time, it's okay to use one, right? It's
Exactly.
okay, but
There you go.
everything shouldn't have to go in the pressure
Yeah.
cooker. And I think we're at that place as a society, especially with Chat GPT. I always have to slowly say it. I said it on another episode. Like, I was born in Jamaica. So in my head, I had to create an acronym for it. And it's like goat, porridge, and tea. And it's like,
works.
why is this an acronym? I told my sister, she's like, that doesn't even go together.
There's so many acronyms in this world.
Yeah.
I mean, whatever works. Chat GPT is a whole other conversation. I have
Right.
lots of thoughts there as a counselor. But yeah, I'm not even going to open. I
Absolutely.
hear you.
Yeah, because I feel like with it, it's creating this container for people to just go in and throw things in pressure cookers and not actually developing
that,
skills
yeah.
as it relates to writing.
Yeah.
To your point. Now, I don't need to know how to write, spell, be creative and develop thoughts. People should have to go through a certain portion in building their business or building their skills before you have access to tools like this. Because now you don't know how to believe in you. You believe in it. And you can't put anything over what your true skills are. Yes, we ask for help because you've tried it and you know you need help on it, whether you've mastered it and you're going to delegate it or you recognize it's just not a good use of your time. But everything starts with that. What skills do you actually have? What tools are you putting in your toolkit? Every tool could be used in a good way, but if we use it the wrong way or too fast, then what does that leave you with?
Absolutely.
So-
Yes. Agreed. Yes.
When you feel overwhelmed by the weight of your goals, right? Because sometimes when you're chosen to do a thing and you're called to do a thing, how do you change your approach to stay aligned and true to the process?
I let go of the weight of goals a long time ago. I'm going in my 40s, so my perspective is a little different. But my goals for me is to right now to stay safe and well and do what I feel called to do, however that comes. So the weight of achieving a goal, it looks differently because I know where I want to be. I can see it. I manifest it. I do all the
Yeah,
things.
yeah.
I can see it. But if it doesn't happen, that's okay too. That's the difference with that goal. If I never get it, I need to be okay with that.
Yeah,
But there's the alternate side is saying, I must get that.
right.
That is mine. And then the disappointment comes when you don't get it. So rather than the weight of a goal, it's more like the possibility of
Yeah,
a goal. Infinite possibilities, limitless beliefs about that goal, even if it's not 100% tangible in the
Yeah.
moment.
I love that, and that's where that trust in the process comes into
There it
play.
is.
Yeah, I feel like it's so much bigger than we often think that it is in terms of the greatness and the vision that we see, and sometimes we're trying to run straight, and it's like, "Yeah, no, I got some people for you to meet. I need you to slow down because now
Ex
you done passed those people that's actually gonna help you get further, but you
Exactly.
wanted to run the ball, and
Exactly.
this was kind of
Yes.
a walking matter."
There you go. So my girls, their godparents,
Mhm,
okay, are incredibly successful entrepreneurs. Their godfather is this incredible food truck chef, all these things. Totally away from counseling,
mhm,
right?
mhm,
Like
mhm.
totally not my world.
Yeah.
But they, both of them together, have taught me so much about my vision. Because
Mhm.
one day he's going to have his own restaurant,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But being a part of their lives for so long, I saw when it was, check out this beautiful meal I made at home for my family.
Mhm,
And you want to talk about the weight of a goal,
mhm,
watching that, trusting the process, pacing the process
mhm,
to where you go now,
mhm.
they've taught me that.
Wow.
You know, he didn't wake up one morning and say, "Oh, I'm going to open a restaurant. Let's
Yeah.
go find something." He saw those steps ahead. And her too, their godmother too, or with her business. Same way. I know what I want to achieve, but having that pacing piece. See, that's a business minded, but
Yeah.
sometimes not always in my scope of
Yeah.
expertise. But I love that you can translate that to anything, whether it's your
Absolutely.
business, family. You have to have the confidence to set that pace
Uh,
and know that it doesn't happen overnight.
yeah. Yeah, absolutely, like, really trusting the process.
Yeah.
I think it's so funny you mentioned that because one of our guests on the podcast, her name's Lanaya, and she's a restaurant owner, and so it's funny we talked a little bit
Yes.
about that, and it's so true. It's, like, recognizing that it's often gonna grow into something way bigger than you could imagine, and it's okay to trust the iterations of what it is because there's something that I need to learn from this part of the process. So
Yes.
I can't go to that part of the process if I haven't learned this piece.
Yeah.
And I love that you
Yes.
shared trusting the timing of things, letting go of the timelines that we create for
letting
ourselves.
letting go of that expectation of time. Look, pandemic warped time anyway.
Yeah.
Time is a social construct. What day is it? What time is it? What is all of this? Releasing that expectation
Mhm.
of, I need to be married by this time. I need to
Mhm.
have kids by this time. I need to know this by this time.
Yeah.
You know, speaking of lived experiences, I did that. Did it turn out the way that I thought? Heck no. But was it an opportunity to say, maybe there's something different that I truly want?
Yeah.
I do know for sure when you talk about the timing of these things happening, the people that are meant to support you and connect with you at that stage of your life, I promise you they will find you. One of the things that I often talk about is people will really surprise you in times of crisis, but it's not always the way you think. An example is something horrendous happened, tornado, and you need help cleaning up or access to water. Sometimes those people that you thought were in that soul squad,
Mhm.
they don't support you in the way that you thought they would.
Yeah.
That's huge,
Yeah.
but I am still in crisis. And if you're not there, who else do I have? Is there somebody
Yeah.
else? Will you be there? Like,
Yeah.
are you going to answer the phone? Those kind of things. That's a hard reality
Yeah.
sometimes to accept.
Yeah.
I'm unsafe. We work with clients all the time where there's a genuine fear of when they leave the house, they're going to be harmed. Their
Mhm.
existence is invalid. Taking that moment to say, who can be a safe person for me? And
Mhm.
if you look around and there's nobody,
Mhm.
that's something that we gotta look through, and maybe that person is you for a minute.
Yeah. I love that. I love that because I feel like oftentimes as you're a goal getter, a high achiever,
Yeah.
sometimes you're in situations that bring up the fact that the people you thought were going to be there are not there. And I actually love those times because many times it's revealed to you in a situation where you can kind of get out of it without those people, but it
Yeah,
also creates that awareness for where he's taking you. If
sure.
they're not able to stand up in these moments, will they be in the future? And I think that sometimes people look at that as, oh my God, this sucks. Like, why
Mm.
weren't they there? And for me, it's kind of like, God, thank you for showing me this. Because if we don't see these things, then when we get to where the top of that vision is, because when you talk
Yeah.
about joy and having your soul squad, it's like, I had them on my top
I
7,
did.
and
I had them at the top of the
and
list.
now
Like,
I'm
what?
at the top, and
Yeah.
they're not there. Like,
Yeah.
let me retool
Yes.
early on as
Yes.
opposed to later on. To your point about
Mhm.
trusting the process, all these things matter. All the lessons matter. They're
Mhm.
all happening for us and not to us. And so I love that.
I love that.
Listen, I want to make sure I allow the people to learn a little bit about where they could follow you online. Where can
Sure.
everybody find you online?
Dr. Meg is Dr. Meg underscore. That's Instagram. Okay. But also our sister page. I don't
Okay.
even know what to call it. My artsy fartsy
Okay.
page. Restorative AF practices.
Okay.
That was all based on when my colleague and I wrote a book after the pandemic about self care and soul care. We decided to explore what Instagram would look like for
Hmm.
this particular practices. So that's all the artsy fartsy, intuitive intentions, mental wellness pro tips, things like that.
I love it. Listen, y'all go
Yeah,
follow Megan.
please. That would be great.
What would you tell your 17-year-old self if you could tell her anything?
I love her so much. First of
Aw.
all, I love 17-year-old Megan. I would tell her just be patient. I promise you things are going to work out the way that you think. And I would also tell 17-year-old Megan that you're not alone in the thoughts in your head. And I would also tell her your childhood experiences, you may have gone through some crap, I
Mhm.
suppose, but you're 17 and your real life is about to begin. That's what
Aw,
I would tell 17-year-old Megan.
I love it. I love it. It really brings me back to the trend, like, you don't know it yet, but
You don't
and I
know it
think it's
yet.
so important that people sit in that for
Yeah.
wherever you are in your life, 17, 27, 37, 47. As long as you haven't sat down and folded, like what your
Yes.
future holds
Yeah.
is still possible because maybe it happens for you at 53, where for somebody else at 33. But it doesn't mean it doesn't happen for you. It just means that the muscle that you've built is going to be so strong in the level of greatness that you're gonna be able to have. So I love that you're
Love
like,
that.
"It's gonna
It
happen."
will. It will.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
know it's so hard to believe that the mental health gym that I could leave everybody with to wrap the
Yeah.
conversation. Irvin Yalom is a theorist on group theories. He's written seminal works about group psychotherapy. But there is one piece that I carry with me as a therapist called installation of hope in the theme of mental health. And given the incredible rise on suicidality and, thoughts of harm and things like that, I know from his teachings and from his book, but from also exploring in therapy with my clients, if there is one thing that I want to start, I want to get better, I want to change, I want to do this job, the one thing you can give yourself is an installation of hope. Meaning, what's that tiny little thing that you can hold on to
Mhm.
in terms of looking forward? Maybe it's only 2 weeks from now,
Yeah.
but there's a little dim light. If you can do that and start with that tiny little seed of
Mhm.
hope, you're gonna be successful. You're gonna get through it. You're gonna fill in the blank.
Yeah.
Just that one little piece of hope.
Yeah, heavy on, this is just a moment. You're gonna get
Yes.
through this.
Yes.
Look at
Temporary.
Yeah.
This feeling of horror, fear, anxiety, it's not forever. It's temporary.
Yeah.
Don't fight it. Feel through it,
Yeah.
but this too shall pass, right?
I love that so much. I think in one episode I talked a little bit about that, or maybe I just talked about it in my head, where early on in my life, I recognized trends of when I wanted to just give up and say, forget it, and I didn't want to be here anymore. It was so aligned to something being hard and not
Mhm.
wanting to go through it. Like, God, forget it. But you can do
It's
hard
hard. We
things.
can do hard things.
And
Surprisingly,
yeah,
we really
we
can.
can. And then it was a heavy emphasis on
Yeah.
what if you would have given up? You wouldn't
Mm.
have gotten to see all of this.
Very true.
And so I
Yeah.
think that that's always when we think about mental health, that's something that lives heavy in my mind. Is like, you don't even understand what God has in store for you, and you're ready to give it all up. Just go through the process and trust the process.
Yeah.
I love that so much. Listen, guys, this was an amazing conversation. If you're not already following the podcast, please go ahead and make sure you follow or subscribe. Make sure you reach out to Megan and follow her as well. Make sure that you're betting on yourself. You're going after your goals. You're getting out your way. You're holding on and recognizing that whatever it is that you're going through, whether it's good, bad, or you're kind of in the middle, you're going to get through it. It's a part of the process. Keep going, keep growing, and keep betting on yourself. Yay. I really enjoyed our conversation.
Me too.